Hey, welcome back to another video. And I just kind of want to go straight into it. I didn't post anything last week just because I was kind of looking at into the stuff for this video. It's super interesting, and it's definitely one that I was I really enjoyed doing. I probably might do some of this a little bit more often, and maybe even kind of go a little bit more into some of the other works. I just kind of wanted to do something where it's just generally well-known characters that are becoming public domain. Uh, if you didn't know, Steamboat Willie here, or at least this iteration of Mickey Mouse, as he's also known as, will be going public domain this year. As you can see, he's a little bit different than the current one that we all know, where he doesn't have the white gloves. His shoes are a little bit different. He's got the hat. But real quick, just what is public domain? Just the simple terms is like anyone can use it for whatever they want, and no one really has rights to it. I was trying to look up some examples for this, and one of the ones I did like were the Disney Cinderella story, or at least the animation. So this particular version of Cinderella is copyrighted. However, the story of Cinderella is not. So that's also why you see different versions of the same story where you have, it's a different character. Or I think there was one called Sneakerella where it's a sneaker instead of that glass slipper or whatever it was. Not gonna lie, that was kind of dumb. But going off that note, if you remember, I think it was last year, this movie, the was it Winnie the Pooh and Blood and Honey? I think it was featured Winnie the Pooh and Piglet from the Winnie the Pooh story or show or whatever it was. The reason why you saw this was because Winnie the Pooh went public domain. But I watched this movie. I saw a lot of people saying, or I've heard a lot of people saying that it was bad. Not gonna lie, I don't think it was that good. However, I think it was one of those movies where the negative feedback kind of helped it become successful. Because, like box office wise, this was a success despite its negative reputation. At least from what I read. But I wanted to start off with this one just because it does have a sequel coming out this year, featuring yet another character. Good old Tigger here, if you may or may not recognize him. That's because the character himself is becoming public domain this year. As far as I know, I think it was Kangaroo, Rabbit, and Owl are also public domain. They just probably haven't been used for the movie yet, or do remember the movie having a part of it where it kind of explains what happens to some of them. So like Eeyore, you don't have to expect to see because he was eaten by the others. But I'm just gonna leave it at that and just kind of go on to the other stuff or the other characters because it's not. I'm not gonna focus on just this, but I did want to bring this up just because this is kind of proof of like a character going public domain and someone doing their own thing with them. Next year we do have Popeye the Sailor, so if there's a story or I guess like a murder movie like the other one that you're trying to do, you can probably do it, but then you won't be able to. You should probably wait to put it out or have it set to come out after 2025 when it becomes public domain, since that's kind of what they did with the sequel to that Winnie the Pooh movie. And like that, I'm just gonna move on to the next. Just kind of go, not gonna shotgun this, one after the other or whatever, like lightning. Sorry, I'm so baffled by the Tigger thing, but it's not the only Disney character that will become uh, public domain because Pluto, Mickey's dog, as we mostly saw him as, will becoming public domain 2016, or sorry, 2026. I have it written right here. I don't know why I said that, which is kind of crazy because Pluto being public domain like this, like right after Mickey, I'm pretty sure there's like a buddy or man's best friend dog movie that will probably be in the works. Like, what was that? Bud. I think it was those Bud movies, the one about the dog. But moving on from animated characters, the characters created by these two are not created, but mostly kind of become I who brought these two characters to become as iconic as they are today, essentially mainstream. The character of the Dracula and Frankenstein. You got Bela Lugosi and Boris Karloff. Their versions of the characters will be public domain. That's also another example where you see a version of a character becoming public domain, because as you see the vampires and Frankenstein's monster and stuff, the Mary Shelley's original works and one for the Frankenstein, that's that's been used, while this one is also a different version. But it's not just these two. The other one, Boris Karloff's version of The Mummy, will be going public domain the year after, which is pretty, or rather, not. It's not too crazy since they were making the movies somewhat, during the same time period. But I did kind of want to keep going into this, just because my buddy's an actor. Just kind of went on a little tangent on it with when I was talking to him about that. But I do want to just leave it at that. Again, if I do think about going more into these characters I present in this video, I probably will. That one definitely will be fun as well. It's not some of the more like sciencey or legal things that I was looking at, because doing that a lot can burn you out. But also joining this version of the Mummy will be Conan the Barbarian, if you're not too familiar with him. I know he had a recent, coming back kind of story. I do believe he was also featured in some Marvel comics, if I remember correctly. I'm actually not sure how that happened, if they got acquired or bought out, because I do know there are some characters coming, are doing some crossovers kind of thing, since DC bought I think it was the Wild Universe, or well, the Wildverse, I think it was, from Image Comics. And then Angela from Spawn coming over to Marvel. But like I said, I'll probably do, actually, those ones I'll probably look into later, probably in the next one, at least the DC portion, because when I was doing this, I found some interesting stuff on it, to where I think it would be better to just keep it as a separate video. So that's 2028. 2029, we have good old King Kong. Some of these original, like classic, iconic, movies are, moving into the public domain area. So it's kind of crazy, because I remember seeing these, not just in being referenced to other works, but also recreations, like the Peter Jackson's version, which is the one I saw as a kid. I thought that was pretty cool. Just the gorillas, giant gorilla fighting a T Rexes. I thought that was pretty awesome. And I do believe there was a newer one that came out, though I don't really remember as much. I think I only saw it the one time. I didn't. I thought it was all right, but I think I liked the other one first, or the other one more, just because maybe because I was a kid and I thought that was super crazy. Now it's just kind of like, oh, cool, giant monkey. But again, moving on, 2030, we got good old Flash Gordon. You may not have known his comics. He is kind of an older character. I think this is a much more recent one, if I remember correctly. And he was featured in that Ted movie, um, and as well as a second one, if you've ever watched it. But this guy got on my radar because of that, so I started looking into it. I liked it. I would recommend it. It's pretty cool. Especially, I don't remember if I read any of the more recent ones. I was just kind of looking up some of the older ones that I could find. It's not really. I also didn't try as much, just because it was. I think during this time when I was interested in reading this, it was more like my reading list was kind of packed, I guess. I do read some comics. some manga as well, mostly just um, Dragon Ball and Boruto. I know a lot of people don't like it, but the manga's all right. It's actually going pretty well. But again, moving on. Don't want to go on a tangent there. Just because I kind of want to show these because man, it's so crazy. A lot of this stuff I just kind of grew up on seeing either a version of these works. So it's kind of crazy that these are becoming public domain. So all the stuff so far that I've shown you, after their year has come, you can make stuff about. You can write your own stuff about them without ever being copyrighted. Kind of like that. Again, I don't know why. I guess that's a good reference point to the Blood and Honey, Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey movie. That it's a good reference to if there's something you want to do with it once it goes public domain, because all these stuff that I've shown so far, all the characters I've shown these, or at least these works, the versions like the Bela Lugosi and Boris Karloff versions will be public domain, so you can use those without worry of like getting into legal troubles. Uh, 2030 also gives us or sorry, Donald Duck. I say Daffy because I guess spoiler alert, he's essentially the next one. But Donald Duck, another Disney character, Mickey, another friend of Mickey's here, but he will be going public domain next, and that's not to confuse you with the or at least I mean for anyone that might not know, but the you might have seen him as the mascot for the Oregon Ducks. That was like a whole special license thing that Walt Disney himself gave the team. And if I remember correctly, they've had a neutral agreement to just kind of make this version of the Oregon Duck. They're a different version from Donald Duck, just to kind of keep them separate. I think Disney gets like 12% of merchandise sales. I don't really remember. It was kind of interesting because I remember as a kid I wondered this too. I was like, how are they? Or I wondered like, isn't is that was Donald Duck or and whatnot? But now we got Mickey, Pluto, and then Donald in 2020 or 2030. I don't know why I keep saying 2023, but then that just leaves Goofy, which he won't be in public domain till. Actually, I think he was the same year. So one thing that's also crazy to that I noticed as I was looking at this is a lot of iconic characters and or iconic works were created, 1920s and 30s that will soon be becoming public domain here, which is kind of crazy, at least for me, just because these are characters that many of us, kind of know. It's become a cultural icons. These guys, and to be able to again to be able to kind of create your own works with them, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a dream come true for many like fans of these icons. And I'm not saying like people haven't been doing that already, but like being able to do that without that, slightly different, name change, like what movie was it, like where they were using McDonald's, or they had McDonald's and then there's that other, I think it was like a comedy movie, but they were McDowell's, stuff like that. But anyways, I just kind of wanted to go off on that real quick and kind of end it with the good old Daffy Duck, the OG, like Daffy Duck's look didn't have the little hairs sticking out from above his head. He looked a little bit more like a duck as far as like his anatomy, where he's got that rounded, his head's a little bit more rounded as you can see here. But look at him. Just look at him here. 2023. Oh my gosh, I did it again. 2033. It's going to be the year of Daffy, cuz look at this boy. He's strapped and ready to go. He's not going to go public. Sorry, he's not gonna go public domain without a fight. Look at this guy. He's like, that's us. Porgy the Pig over there is gonna be us. Just looking at him like, damn, bro, chill. But no, on the real note, like this is pretty crazy because Bugs will also be be joining him a couple years later. I don't know why I stopped at. Oh, I stopped at 2033 because I wanted to do 10 years. But again, I forgot that it was 2024 because I'm stupid. Anyways, I'm definitely going to continue this as far as showing which characters will become public domain. I'm more than likely going to kind of look into these characters, at least the works, just because I thought it was interesting. There's definitely some of these where I knew about them, like the King Kong and all that, and Frankenstein and Dracula, but I never really looked into it because some of the stuff my buddy was saying about the those older movies, I thought it was interesting and I loved hearing about it, so I'm more than likely gonna do something on that. And then, as I mentioned, the DC thing, it's kind of crazy how their sorry, I keep saying but their Trinity is about to be going public domain as well. When I was looking into that, I that's the piece where that I mentioned where I wanted to make it its own thing, just because I don't know if you're. I'm pretty sure some of you are aware of what DC's been doing with some of those characters recently. Batman, I'd say he's been all right. Superman and Wonder Woman, I don't know, some of the stuff that they were doing. It's nothing negative per se. It's more like, well, I guess it is negative because it's kind of bringing down. Well, Marvel and DC are pretty much in a race to burn down their companies as a comic book, you know, public or provider. Comic book sales stories are just their comic book stories are just not as well as they used to be. But again, I'm just gonna end it there. This was definitely one that I was expecting to be long. I'm not gonna really worry about the time I anymore. I was originally trying to do little like bite-sized videos to kind of give the information on stuff and just kind of let you go with that. But this one was definitely one that I knew was gonna be long. So again, if you're still here, thank you for listening and making it to the end. If you didn't like me, thank you for tolerating me enough to make it to the end. And with that, I'll probably just go ahead and end it here. See you on the next one.